Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you, and welcome back to another random thrift store find. Today, I'm going to be using this, which I found a few years ago at Savers, and I paid a whopping $3.99 for it. It comes in its original packaging, and you can see what it is. So this is Action's Pierogi Makers, and it lists all the other types of dumplings you could potentially make with this machine or gadget. I have to say this is one of my favorite parts of this. Look at that original as seen on TV sticker. It's got the same font as the shirt I'm wearing. This was made in 1984, so this is almost 40 years old, and it gives you, thankfully, the directions right on the box, because I believe this came with a cookbook or instruction pamphlet, but it no longer is with the original pieces. So let me show you what it comes with. So we have two different makers. This one is more of a ravioli shape, and this one is more of a half moon shape. This is the shape that I associate more with pierogis. When I was in college, I remember buying Mrs. T's frozen pierogis. I don't know if you can still find them. I think you can. They're sort of a classic. So for those of you that are not familiar with pierogi are Polish dumplings that are hand wrapped and often filled with potato, cheese, cabbage, sauerkraut, different kinds of fillings. But for me, I most commonly think of cheese and potato. And they are boiled, can be served boiled, or they can be boiled and then pan fried in a bit of butter, often with a bit of sour cream. I have not had a pierogi in a long time. I've never made them before. I saw this maker and I said, yes, I will make them, and I haven't, so today is the day. And I remember being really inspired by an episode of Martha Stewart where she made pierogi with her mom, Big Martha, and together they made them, and Martha loved them, raved about them, said her mother's were the best. Today I'm actually going to be using a New York Times recipe. It has 5-star rating, over 2,000 ratings, so it sounds terrific, and it comes from a Milk Bar, which I didn't know what a Milk Bar. Do you guys know what a Milk Bar is? I had to look it up. I know Milk Bar Christina Tosi, but I did not know Milk Bar is an actual thing, and it's like a bodega. It often had a delicatessen or someplace you could get fish and chips, get little snacks, you could get your newspaper, magazines, little all-purpose shop, and it was called a Milk Bar. Isn't that brilliant? So today's recipe is adapted from a milk bar located in Warsaw, Poland. It's called Bar Prasowi, and it has rave reviews, and it looks just like what I'm looking for. Cheese and potato wrapped in a homemade dumpling wrapper. So let's go ahead and use this little gadget to make homemade pierogi. So in this saucepan, I've got some water, and to that, I'm going to add some butter. See that? Bloop. And we're just gonna heat that up until the butter melts. And in this bowl, I have some all-purpose flour, and I'm going to add some kosher salt. Swirl my water around to melt the butter, and mix the flour and salt together. This is a super simple dough. We just have 5 ingredients. And that water coming up, simmer, not quite melted yet. Oopsie. I'm gonna use my Danish whisk. Love this tool for mixing doughs. Okay, I think we're good now. To the flour and salt mixture, we're gonna slowly add our butter and hot water. Mixy, mixy, mixy. Now the recipe specifically says that at this point it's gonna look a little dry, but we still have to add an egg. So mix that in, and that will hydrate the flour, but also cool it off a bit, because we're gonna be kneading this and we don't wanna burn ourselves. Now to this, I'm gonna crack 1 egg. Boop. And use this to do the initial kind of incorporation. And then we're going to form this into a dough and knead it for 5 to 7 minutes, or until it's nice and smooth. So at this point, I'm just going to put my impeccably clean hands into it and form it into a dough. Ooh, it's lovely. It's nice and warm. So I'm actually just going to knead it in the bowl so I don't have to dirty up my counter. Actually, I'm going to do it on the countertop. I have more room. Use a little flour and work that in. And sure enough, already it's turning into a beautiful dough. Look how supple. All right, that's beautiful. Okay, to keep things from sticking, put a little oil in my mixing bowl. And just like bread making, I'm gonna oil the top and the bottom. Cover it with a damp cloth and allow it to rest for half an hour before we shape our pierogi. Alrighty, so now we are going to move on to our filling. In a large skillet, heated up on medium heat, we're going to get a spatula of some kind. Melt 3 tablespoons of butter. Alrighty, so butter's almost melted. We're adding a lot of onions in here. And these have been chopped pretty finely. And in this case, the bigger your pan, the faster this will go. You have more surface area for the onions to sweat out and cook, and we want to get these nice and golden. At this stage, we generously salt these, good pinch of kosher salt, and lots of black pepper. Freshly cracked, preferably. And the recipe says this should take about 12 minutes for these to get nice and golden. Stir them around. Oh, it smells so good. Sauteing onions. One of the best smells. That and garlic. We're just going to let these go until they get nice and golden. So while these are cooking, this is a great time to boil your potatoes. You're going to cut them up in about 1-inch pieces, cover them with water, add some salt to them, and boil them until they're tender. It'll be about 25 minutes, and then you're going to drain them. And that's what I've got in this bowl here. Not too much. If you compare it with the onions, it's almost like a 1-to-1 ratio of onions to potatoes. Alrighty, I'll be back when this is ready. Alrighty, lovelies, we are back. And because we chopped up these onions nice and small, they are nice and golden. See how they've caramelized and browned up so nicely? So turn off the heat, and we're going to reserve some of these caramelized onions to use as a garnish and for flavor, of course. And the rest goes into the potatoes. Smells so good. Now we're going to add some dairy. This is a combination of sour cream and cream cheese, but the recipe says that you could also use quark, which is another dairy product. Some other recipes I saw recommended farmer's cheese or cottage cheese. I think some kind of rich dairy. And then lots of salt and pepper. And your potato should be pretty tender, so this shouldn't require much work, just a folding really. That looks great. So that's the consistency I have, pretty stiff. And let's give it a taste to see how the seasoning is. Oh, that's lovely. A little bit of a tang, nice and rich and creamy. Because this is a stuffing, I always err on the side of just a little bit more salty, because then you've got the wrapping on the outside. So I'm gonna add another pinch of salt and more pepper. Oh, so good. Okay, let's taste it one more time. Oh, that's great. All right, so now we're gonna let this cool before we wrap our pierogi. Okay, while our filling is cooling, we're going to roll out our dough. And also get a pot of water boiling so that we can cook our little dumplings. Now it is time to make the pierogi. So here's our dough that we've rested. The resting time allows for the gluten to kind of relax. That's the protein in the flour. And with that relaxation, it should allow us to roll the dough out better. Here is our rested dough, really soft, tender. And I'm gonna divide it in half. I'm gonna roll out 2 sheets, one for the top and one for the bottom. I have a little flour here. Floured surface. Oh, look how lovely this dough is. It's so cooperative. Okay, so we're gonna roll this out to about 1/8 of an inch. And in our case, we want it to be big enough to accommodate our maker. And I think it should do that pretty easily. We want to have a pan ready, dusted with flour, for our shaped pierogis after. So I'm gonna do this with both sheets, get them nice and thin. Okay, so I'm gonna roll it bigger rather than smaller. And then with the leftover dough, we can roll it out and make more. So that's one prepared. Set that aside, and we shall roll out the second. Lots of flour. Okay, so that one rolled out super fast since I knew what I was doing. We're now ready to use our maker. Add a little bit of flour to it so that it doesn't stick. Then take one sheet of dough, stretch it over the top, and then we're going to gently press each little divot in so that we can accommodate some filling. Okay, be gentle, don't poke any holes in them. Okay, great. Here is our cooled filling. And now we're just gonna add, I would say, about a half teaspoon or so. Don't wanna overfill them. It's classic for a dumpling. Don't overfill. And stay away from the edges so that the dumpling seals properly. So this little gadget, I imagine, would save you quite a bit of time, but you will not get those beautiful little pleated edges of a traditional pierogi. Although that's not necessary either. I've seen some very rustic looking, simple dumplings as well. And I think either way would be delicious, pleated or not. So here we are filled. And now we're going to take the other piece and drape it over the top. Did it say anything about water? It didn't. I'm going to assume that this dough is nice and wet and doesn't require any water to seal. Now for the fun part, we're going to gently take this rolling pin and roll these down, pressing the filling into the cavities and cutting the dumplings. So now we're just going to roll these out and it should cut it. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. So gently, ever so gently, rubbing this, and it'll press the filling down into the cavities and simultaneously cut the dumplings. Oh, it's working beautifully. Now I'm going to use some pressure to cut them, and it's working. Use pressure and do it in all directions to make sure that they're properly cut and separated. That works great. Now we're going to peel off the excess dough. Brilliant! Oh my gosh, yes! And now we can roll this out to make more. And on our floured surface, oh look, you can feel the dumplings underneath. And we're gonna dump them upside down. All right, ready? Here we go. Oh. Gently push them out. Oh yeah. 5, 6, 7, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. 24 pierogis. Oh my gosh. Some got a little dented because I got a little bit rough with them, but look how perfectly cute and sealed. Yes, this thing worked great. Transfer them to a floured surface, and we're going to boil these. Place them in a pot of boiling water, and once they come up to the surface, boil them for 2 minutes, and then another 2 minutes for a total of about 4 or 5 minutes in cooking time. Then we're going to strain them and then eat them. Cannot wait. So my pierogi look fantastic. Look how they puffed up. So stinking cute, so puffy. So I am going to take them out of the boiling water, and at this point you can eat them, but I am going to gild the lily and saute them in some butter because that just sounds so stinking great. Look how cute they are. In the saute pan down here, I'm gonna melt some butter because more butter. Just melt this up. We're just gonna saute them just so they get a little bit golden. But look at them, aren't they cute? Cute little dumplings. They've collapsed a little bit now that they're not in the boiling water. Let's go ahead and give one a taste. Here's a pierogi. Isn't it gorgeous? It looks just like a little wonton or something, but it's not. While my butter's melting, let's try a boiled pierogi. Gosh, I haven't had one of these in so long. Here we go. Itadakimasu. Wow. That is so good. The dough is so tender. And the filling is warm and starchy with potato flavor and onion flavor, salt and pepper, and just a dairy buttery richness. Fan-stinking-tastic. So good. Alrighty, let's try the fried version. And let's add something. Swirl it around. Move them around so they don't stick. Okay, I think these are ready. You can add some reserved onions. Swirl them in there too. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Look at that. Okay, let's serve it up. Turned off my heat. Get a few of these gorgeous dumplings on my plate and in my belly. Make sure everything's off, and just to gild the lily, or just for a little garnish, some parsley. Alrighty, my lovelies, look at that. That looks fantastic. I think that's comfort on a plate. Alrighty, let's try them sauteed in butter. The boiled version was fantastic, straight out of the pot like that, so warm and luscious. But I have high hopes for more butter filling in there. Itadakimasu. Fantastic. Can you hear my belly? My belly's like, thank you. So simple and delicious, but I have to say the dough is incredible. It's tender, yet has a bit of a chew to it. It's the perfect thickness, and the filling inside is so wonderful. Soft, creamy, tangy, rich, nice and peppery without being spicy, nicely seasoned. Oh, I bet these would be fantastic as a mushroom onion version or a little bit of cheese, or that recipe that I told you earlier from the moosewood. No, that combination of cream cheese, onion, mushroom would be fantastic inside these two. They're so good. Delicious, delicious, delicious. Highly recommend this one. Make a bunch, freeze them, take them out when you want something warm and comforting and absolutely scrum-diddly-umptious. Super simple, fantastic. So yeah, check that one off the list of things I've always wanted to try. Homemade pierogies. This one goes out to Big Martha, and thanks so much for the inspiration. Alright, my lovelies, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. I love, love, love hearing from you. Like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo. Take care. Bye. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. I'm sweating. My nose is just, yes, my glasses won't even stay on my face.